welcome back to my channel. So first of all, I haven't made a video in a very long time, so let's just forget about that. That didn't happen.
Terrible.
So today I'm going to be doing a video all about what it is like to actually study psychology at university. And the main reason why I'm making this video is because I remember having that very same question myself when I was applying to study. And so I think it's something which is quite difficult because for a lot of people, they haven't studied psychology before. It's not a subject which you do all throughout like your education. It's something which you'll probably either do like during your last few years of school, or you'll go to university and study it. And so because of that, I think it could be quite difficult to know that it's the right thing for you. So hopefully this video helps some of you. And I'm going to be leaving timestamps on the screen and in the description box below. And it's cut into different sections because I know that not everyone is interested in all these different aspects, and so it might just make it a little bit easier if you're interested in like one specific question or something like that. So first of all, I just want to say that the degrees may differ between universities. However, if the degree is BPS accredited, usually they do cover most of the same things because there's specific things that need to be covered in the course. Also, it differs like where you live, where you're going to university. I personally go to university in Scotland, and so our degree program is a little bit different compared to other places. So we do 4 years at university, and in the first 2 years we do other subjects. So I'm currently in my second year, which means that obviously I don't have like a complete knowledge of what it's actually fully like. However, I feel like I have enough experience to talk about it. So first of all, I'm going to be talking about what psychology is, because you may hear like different things like what is it, and so I think it's very important to sort of just define what it actually is. So psychology is basically the study of the mind and behaviour. Psychology isn't just all about reading minds, there is quite a big scientific element to it, and there's also a lot of stats involved. So it's not something where you will just be writing essays all the time. You will be doing like experiments and writing reports and stuff about them. One thing I actually do like about psychology is it does have a lot of breadth to it. It has a lot of different sections to it, and I think that makes it very, very interesting. So there's just such a wide variety of things you can study. So basically psychologists sort of look to explain and discover why people do the things they do, why they act a certain way, just trying to sort of explain that. And yeah, it's quite complex, but it's good. It's good. I think there's a lot of stereotypes surrounding psychology. A lot of it's just to do with like the media and stuff. A lot of people will say it's about reading minds. So if you tell someone that you're studying psychology, they'll be like, can you read my mind? And it's not like that. It's completely different to like being able to like completely read someone's mind or something. You can't do that. Psychologists are interested in why people behave the way they do and what sort of factors can impact people's behaviour. So you're probably wondering, what sort of topics do you cover in a psychology degree, or what sort of topics fall under psychology? So I'm going to talk about some of the topics which I have studied so far. So examples of some of the topics that you could do are things like social psychology, so thinking about how people behave in groups, things like that. Biological psychology, so this is quite a big section, so you'll be looking at the brain, neurons, how all of this just works and learning all the structures of the brain and stuff. So it's clear that there is quite a scientific element to psychology. If you've done like biology or school or something, this is where it's quite a good starting point. However, I wouldn't worry if you haven't really done much at school, because you basically start in a place where it's quite simplistic and then just gets built up. I can't talk. Then they just build up on that from there, yeah. Then you'll do things like individual differences, so looking at personality. There's different theories for why people have like a personality, and there's loads of different theories. Then we have perception and cognition. You'll be looking at things like hearing, sight. There's also developmental psychology, so you'll be looking at how children develop and how things like childhood can really impact on someone's behaviour. Most degrees will also have a research methods bit built into it, so for some universities it may just be like an entire module. In my first and second year, it has just been like built into our modules because we've only done one module for psychology alongside our other subjects. However, I know that in like our later years we do have like a specific module for it, so it's very clear that it is quite an important aspect of psychology. So next I'm going to be talking about how you are assessed at university in psychology and the sort of things that you do. Now I think it's also important to note that this probably does differ quite a lot between universities, so please bear that in mind. And most universities will have sort of things on their websites which tell you like what percentage of the grade is coursework, what percentage is an exam, sort of ways you'll be examined, and so it may be worth looking at that and just seeing what sort of suits you the best. So for me personally, in my first and second year, it's roughly been like 50-50 to coursework and exam. So the coursework would usually involve, so in first year we did a workbook, and this was like, it had loads of different elements. It gradually like moved you into like doing more university style psychology work, so we would write like little essays, we'd do some like very like simplistic stats work, so working at like the mean and stuff, like quite simple things like that. So as we've like progressed through the years, it's got a little bit more difficult, and so then we do like research reports and stuff, you do essays, where you have to do like all your university style referencing and stuff. One thing I do like about how we've been assessed is that we have quizzes after like the end of each subsection. So I quite like this because it gives you an idea of how you're performing, and it's a really good way to ensure that you have learnt the material and you're just testing yourself, which has proved to be a really good way at getting stuff into your memory. And these are usually open book tests, so it does contribute quite a small bit to your grade. I think each test in my university is like 2.5%, like something like that, and they're just a really good way at just getting a tiny bit extra like boost to your grade. Another thing we have to do at my university is that we have to participate in experiments. So this is only worth about 3%, but what you do is you go along and you participate in experiments that the university is doing, and it is a little bit of a chore sometimes, but it is a really good experience at sort of seeing how like research is actually done, because it is something that you will have to do at one point in your degree. So most of my psychology exams so far have been multiple choice on computers, so we would all go into like a big computer room for the exams, and you have like just like multiple choice answers, and there's usually about like 50 questions or something like that. However, as I've moved into second year, we now have like a multiple choice and a short answer question bit. So the short answer question area has been done on a computer, so you write the essays on the computer. I found that a little bit weird, not gonna lie, didn't really like it. However, it is something that I think they do carry on, so it's something you sort of have to get used to, and it sort of sucks, but yeah. Because I find that I work better when I can like write stuff down. So we are allowed a little bit of paper, but you know, just like writing something down, just like get into the mood, and it's like yes. But on the computer, it's like, it's really difficult, especially when like 200 other people are just like typing like frantically around you. So the next sort of question I think a lot of people have about psychology is, do you need to be good at maths? Because obviously, as I've said, stats is quite a big part of psychology, and it's something you'll do all throughout your degree. So basically the short answer to this is no, you do not have to be good at maths. I have a C in Nat 5 maths, and I have managed so far, I say, haven't aced it, but I've managed. And they do start off at quite a basic level, so you will have probably done the things they talk about before. So it'll be things like the mean, the median, the mode, like very simple stat stuff like that. I know that some universities will specify that they need like a specific grade, so they might want like a C in maths, but I feel like most universities would want that for like most subjects anyway. So basically in stats you will learn how to use different statistical tests, because there's a lot of different ones. But you basically learn like why they are used, how you use them, but the main program you use to actually like do all the stats stuff, I don't know, it's called SPSS. And so in my university they've gradually like made us learn it throughout our degree so far, which I do like, because it's better than just being like chucked into it at the end and having no idea what to do. So you do gain like a little bit of familiarity with the program, which I think is really good. And if you do struggle with stats, I find that it's something which you just have to like sit for ages and try and learn it, but once you do get it, I think it's very easy to pick up a few extra marks. So obviously I have mentioned that psychology has a bit of a science element to it, and I think it can be quite easy to worry that it's going to be like loads of science and stuff, but basically the answer to this is that it's going to be okay, and you don't really need like a big science background. I know that some universities will ask for like a specific grade, so when I was applying a lot of them would want like a C in higher biology, but I think it just really depends on the university. Having a science background does help when you're looking at areas like biological psychology. However, you do start at like a very basic level, and it's basically just learning like parts of the brain and what neurons are, and so they do start like very basic, and you know, it moves on quite quickly from there, so even people who do have quite like a basic level of it, they won't be at much of an advantage, to be honest. So next I want to cover the types of things that you will be reading. Now obviously any university course you're probably going to have to do reading at some point. So I just want to cover like the sort of types of things you will be learning. So for my course we have like a main textbook that we use, and the textbook's going to be a really good way at just introducing topics and looking at little short examples of like famous psychological studies and stuff like that. However, as you progress and basically throughout your whole degree, you will be expected to read like research papers, academic journal things like that. Basically, you'll be expected to read like reports and stuff that people have done. Some of the language in like the reports and stuff can be quite complex, and it can sort of take a bit of time to get your head around it. But basically, I think a large part of studying psychology is just learning how to read effectively, because most of the time you probably won't need to read the whole thing. Like you could just easily like read like the conclusion, skim over some bits, and like, yeah. Not that I would recommend doing that all the time, but being effective is good. Woo! So one thing I want to cover is future jobs and what you can actually do with a psychology degree, because I think a lot of people go into psychology and think that they have a psychology degree and they'll then become a psychologist, when unfortunately it doesn't work like that. Basically, whatever sort of field you want to go into, like you want to go clinical psychology, educational psychology, there's so many branches out there. If you want to go into like these little sections, you will probably have to go and do more studying, more degrees, more student finance, more debt. Love that. Wow. And so I think that's very important to bear in mind. However, obviously there are some psychology things that you can do if you just have a degree. It's all about like experience and job things like that. I don't know, I don't have much experience of that yet, but maybe in the future I can make a video about that. So one other question is basically, is it hard? Is studying psychology at university difficult? Now basically, I think this depends on, like, any university degree will be difficult, like you'll have to put work into it, and I think if you have like an interest in psychology, that will make it really rewarding and a really interesting and just a fun experience. So I would recommend maybe reading like some psychology books or articles online or something like that, and just sort of gaining some insight into what psychology is and the sorts of things that you will be learning about. Obviously there will be elements of the course which you will find quite difficult, and there will probably be some elements which are quite easy and stuff. So I think it just basically the answer to that is it's university. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be the most easiest thing in the world, otherwise like what would be the point? Like, so I'm probably just going to touch a little bit upon why I decided to study psychology and why I personally really like studying it. Now first of all, I found that I always just find myself questioning like little things about why people behave the way they do, and I'd always just type questions in on like Google and stuff, and it would always be related to psychology, and then it just became like a subject I became interested in as soon as I heard what it is actually about, and like ever since then I just really wanted to study it. And I was a little bit worried that I would go to university and I would hate it. But that hasn't been the case. I've really enjoyed studying it so far. It's so interesting, and how it all can be applied to like real life, and it's a great subject. I also like how it has got that scientific element to it, so it's not just all about writing essays and stuff all the time, even though that's like an important aspect of it. It's just like, it's a different way of learning, I think, compared to other subjects. So I also do modules in like geography and politics, and the way of revising and studying for them is like very different to psychology, because psychology is just like, even when you read a textbook, it's different, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like a different way of studying basically. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope that this video helps some people out there. If you have any questions about anything I haven't touched upon, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I will try my best to answer them. However, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all for another video. Bye!